Cedric Alexander, also joining us from New York, CNN political commentator, Morehouse College professor, and host of HuffPost Live, Marc Lamont Hill. All right, good to see both of you gentlemen.
Good to see you.
So Cedric, in a situation like this, you heard the alderman who said there are people taking advantage of the protest, using this as cover to carry out what unfolded. How do police prepare for large gatherings of people, at the same time anticipate any kind of volatility?
Well, first of all, we certainly got to allow people to exercise their constitutional right. And there's a population out there, Frederica, that's doing that. And they're doing it in a way which we hope to be lawful. However, in the backdrop there somewhere is a population that is being violent. The gunfire and all those types of things that occurred last night are not acceptable. You heard from the Attorney General. She's totally in opposition of violence being placed upon the citizens there and the police officers as well too. But Ferguson, we have to note, is a community that is still in pain, a community that is still trying to heal, and a lot of young people who still don't have a very good thought or relationship with the police. But however, that does not excuse the fact you cannot harm people or put other people at risk. It's just not acceptable.
And so, Marc, how do you go about separating the violence that erupted and the mission of the nonviolent demonstrators who gathered to commemorate this one-year marking of Michael Brown's death?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is highlight the fact that the bulk of the resistance, the bulk of the protests, the bulk of the voices that you heard in Ferguson yesterday were positive, they were strong, they were defiant, and they often engage in acts of civil disobedience, but they were all within the boundaries of the law or within the boundaries of our ethical and moral rules. I was in Ferguson yesterday. I actually was on the streets of West Florissant until 5 a.m. I literally just got back to New York, and even then there were young people out there who, as Cedric said, were in pain, they were hurt. They were trying to figure this thing out. They were still trying to recover from last year. And I think it's important to highlight that as opposed to the one or two incidents that we don't know about. And that's the other thing. We need to wait until we get full information about what these shootings were about. Yes, the police gave an account. The police accounts, particularly from Ferguson, have proven to be faulty all the time. I've been on the streets of Ferguson when police say that we're not shooting tear gases, we're putting on gas masks because we're getting tear gas. And so I can't believe the police account without evidence and some level of investigation.
So, Cedric, how do you respond to that as someone who represents law enforcement, where there is a continuing level of distrust? And I didn't just hear it from Marc, but I heard it from others earlier on our air about people who say they've only heard the police account and they want to know more, and so they're unwilling to, believe that there are conclusions being drawn strictly from police accounts.
Right, and that's a reality for a lot of people who were there a year ago when all this erupted. And the optics was certainly very different, and the circumstances were somewhat different as well too. It's all about building trust. You have a new chief, interim chief in there now, who I think is going to do a tremendous job. And over the last several weeks since he's been there, he's done a lot of good work in that community. But over the last year, a lot of work, good work has been done in Ferguson as well too. So there's still a lot of bridges that have to be mended as it relates to that trust building. But that is one of the most important elements that you will have, is building that trust with your community. It is still a lot of work done with those young people. Here again, still feel very much separate from that community.
All right, Cedric Alexander. Marc, got a quick point?
No, the way to help build that and heal those young people is to talk to support them, but it's also to give access to jobs. And broke people are much more likely to do this than people who have been covered under not just democracy, but social provision and protection. That's what we need. We need love, we need support, we need resources.
And if I could add one thing real quick, Frederica, as well too, those who are out there being intentionally violent and creating that type of havoc have to be dealt with appropriately by the authorities, so that people who are exercising their rights are not hurt.
All right, Cedric Alexander, Marc Lamont Hill, thank you so much, gentlemen. Appreciate it.